Hello everybody, welcome back to my devlog series of Tribulations and the Mage, which is the Zelda and Tunic inspired Unreal Engine game that I'm developing. And for this devlog, I'm going to go over how I handled spell casting and all the things that go with it, like mana and such. So yeah, let's get right into it. So first of all, the way I attempted spellcasting is I actually have a item called BP Magic Bolt Interact, which is the child of a blueprint called BP Item Parent, and has all the interact code. Now, when I do items, I will make a video about that and to go a little bit more in depth. But essentially, what you need to know is that when the player when the player overlaps an item, a widget will appear called WB item, which will have its own text that will actually determine what the widget says on the screen. So for the Magic Bolt item, when the player obviously overlaps, it will show that widget. And if the player interacts with the Magic Bolt, it'll essentially set the spell visibility to visible, this is just for the widget and for the save game. But it will play the item pickup sound, and it will set a active variable called spell in the player character, which is just the variable right here. So it will set the spell actor to whatever actor I determine the spell to be. So for this one, I have the BP Magic Bolt spell, which is just its own blueprint right here. That has a particle, and the particle I use was just a Mage Magic Missile, as you can see right there. And then it has a capsule collision, which when it interacts with something that has the eye enemy interface, it will apply point damage and spawn a impact emitter, and then just destroy the magic bolt itself. So yeah, that's how I wanted to do magic. I did various experimentations with this. For right now, I found that this worked. Obviously, when I add more spells, right now I only just have one basic spell. But obviously, when I add more spells in the game, I might change it or tweak it to make it work. And if I do, I'll just, do a dev vlog about that. But for right now, this is how it works. I'll just do a little bit of a demonstration. Oh, hang on, let me restart. So right now, here is the Magic Bolt Interact item. I just made it look like, the spell. I might change it to something like a scroll later on, but this is just a placeholder. So when I enter the box, a message will appear on screen, which is just E to learn Magic Bolt. So I press E. The scroll appears. It's supposed to be like a widget to tell you that you have a scroll. And now, when I press F, the spell will come out, and then as you can see, a glow will appear, and the spell will shoot out some arrow that is called arrow 2 on the player character. And then as you can see on the top left, the mana goes down by 10. That's just the mana I have it set for now. See right there. And then if I hit this dummy that has the eye enemy interface, as you can see, it does damage, and there's those sparks. So let me just restart. So that's how I got the spell to work. I just made it an item, so that the player can learn from it. Later on in development, I might have, like a spell book, so you can switch out the spells and have spells with different effects. But let's go into the player character to show you that's how I got to work on the player side. So right now I have a separate event graph called Magic, and it's obviously connected to the enhanced input that's connected to the F key on the keyboard. So that's when it started. It will check if the player has 10 or more mana. If it does not, it will add a not enough mana widget on screen, which will disappear after 1 second. If it does, it will check the spell conditions, which is just similar to the attack conditions. There's some really major differences. I just check the mana again and check if the player actually has a spell. If they do have a spell, go through your standard checks like, is the player dead, rolling, attacking, or already mid-cast or blocking, stuff like that. And if they aren't doing that, then set contrast to true and set it back to the return node. Alright. So like I said, if the spell conditions are true and the player can cast, set the spell glow to not hidden so that the player can see the spell glow. Cast spell, which is just a custom event, which I'll go into. And then after 1 second, set the spell glow to hidden again and set casting to false. Now in this cast spell custom event, I simply have it so that the player, when the spell is cast, damage mana by 10, set casting to true, and play the spell cast animation I have chosen. So I'll go into this mana damage real quick. The way it works is that I simply reduce the mana. I just take the mana and then subtract it by the reduced number and then set it again so that it decreases. And then for the animation, I actually have two notified, a spellcast sound, a play sound, and a shoot magic notify, which when that notified is triggered, it will just call this shoot spell function that is a part of the player interface. Like I said, I might change this later if I can find a better way to do it, but just after a good bit of experimenting and with the way I wanted the player setup, I found that using just this interface worked. So what the shoot spell function does is that it will, this explosion sound is just a debug, but the way the shoot spell functions works is that it will actually spawn the spell actor from the arrow 2. So, if I go to player, this is just arrow 2. And I found, so far at least with simple stuff like magic bolt, that worked. Obviously, when I start to add more complex spells, I'll have to see if I can do it, a better way. But for right now, I got that to work in a satisfying way for me. So yeah, that's how spells work. So I'll just go over it again. Press F, check if you can cast. Show the glow. So this is a way to see that the player is casting spell. And then damage mana. Play the animation that has the notify on it. And then once that notified is triggered, the spell actor is spawned into the world. And then I'll just give a quick show of that again. So yeah. So here's the whole process. I walk into this close enough to this BP Magic Bolt interact. Just to learn the spell. I press E. I learn it. The scroll widget appears just as in a visual, so which spell the player has, and show that the player has the spell. I press F, the glow appears, and then once the spell is done, it disappears. And then I hit the dummy, which is a dummy with the eye enemy interface. So because it has that enemy interface, it's considered an enemy, and the spell deals damage to it. And then my mana increases, as you can see in the top left. And once the spell hits, there's the spark to show that it hits. There's more visual indication. But yeah, so far that's how spells work. And Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.